So what kind of drink can be bitter or sweet? Reality. Sorry, that was bad. So today's question is, how can I let go of bitterness? Now you see, this time of year, one's bitterness tends to usually show itself and reveal itself quite more often than we would hope for. And you're possibly thinking, there's no way is that happening. I mean, I'm on holiday, and even if I'm not on holiday, everything at work is much less stressful, and I'm seeing my family this holiday, so why would I be bitter at all? You see, the truth is, during this time of year, we tend to reflect on our year, and it sometimes sums up how we feel about Christmas holiday. If you had a great year, everything went well, mostly, you would probably be excited about seeing your family, getting away a little bit, and spending some time with your loved ones. But if this year was a bit difficult, a bit stretched out, a bit hard, it might be the exact opposite for you. And that's why we sometimes are bitter this time of year. But today I really want to help in setting you free, in letting go of your bitterness. Because there might be bitterness in your heart and you might not even know it. It says in Hebrews 12 verse 14 to 15, "Make every effort to live in peace with everyone and be holy. See to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many." Now, I'm convinced, and when I say convinced, I mean 100% convinced, that the enemy's main task is to destroy lives and to poison hearts and to destroy relationships. That's what he wants to do, and even more so this time of year. You see, because God wants you to love, but the enemy hates love. God wants you to grow in intimacy, but he tries to disrupt that. God wants you to trust, but the enemy's mission is to break your trust. He wants to steal it and leave you bitter. You see, in everything, the enemy is busy planting a seed that grows into a root of bitterness. Because if you know gardening, you know that a root can't be without there being a seed in the beginning. So that's what he does. He plants a seed of offense in your heart, which then grows into a root of bitterness. Now that seed of offense can be anything. It can be something small. It can be someone unfriending you on Facebook. And I mean, I've taken offense to that. Just scrolling through someone's profile and then the option add friend standing there. And I'm like, what have I ever done to you? Maybe someone is constantly blue ticking you, reading and not replying. Maybe there's someone when you guys have a Christmas meal as a family together and everyone is supposed to bring something, but there's always this one family member that always just brings Tupperware to take food home. But maybe the seed of offense in your heart is something different, maybe something deeper. Maybe people are constantly lying to you, trying to deceive you. Maybe there's this relative that's always criticizing you. Maybe someone's taking advantage of you. Someone's maybe misleading you. When you think about it, in the next week or so, you are going to get the God-given opportunity to interact with your closest friends and family and to display God's love. And I can assure you, the enemy will definitely try to disrupt that. He will definitely try to create roots of bitterness in your heart. Now, I want you to remember something today. You cannot control what people do, but what you can control is how you respond. I want you to say that together with me. You cannot control what people do, but you can control how you respond. Now you see the problem with bitterness, and it has 2 points. Bitterness firstly has a dangerous root. It said in Hebrews 12 verse 15 when we read, it said that see to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble. Now, what do we know about bitterness? It's an underground business. It grows under the ground. You can't see it happening. That's why, in other words, there's sometimes bitterness in your heart and you don't even know it. You're not even aware of the situation. You might have experienced hurt or disappointment, offense, and it's happening in your heart and you're not aware of it until it's too late. Now, when you think of it, in 1 Corinthians 13, where Paul is writing on love, he said that love keeps no record of wrongdoings. It keeps no records of wrongdoings. But bitterness keeps the exact details. Am I right? He hurt me. She misled me. He betrayed me. You know, the problem is the longer you allow the root to grow, the more it will spread. If you know gardening, you know how tough it is to remove something that has already gained great roots and has spread to a bigger and larger area. The more it spreads, the harder it is to kill. So bitterness has a dangerous root. And secondly, bitterness produces poisonous fruit. It said in Hebrews 12 verse 15, see to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. You see, it's not just a root bitterness, it's something that cannot produce good fruit. It produces bad fruit. You've seen it all around you. People who are bitter, they destroy relationships. They make work environments horrible, horrendous. A bitter person can, in this time of year, divide a family. And some of you are probably thinking now, I'm going to send this to a very specific family member because he or she needs to hear this. Now, before you do that, before you point the finger, relax a little bit. Because the one thing about bitterness is that it's the most difficult sin that we sometimes can't see it in the mirror. It's difficult to see it. Why? Because when you are bitter, you feel you are justified in how you feel because you're only focusing on what other people did to you. And if we aren't careful, it's going to begin to look like this. We are going to have an awesome relationship with Christ where we love Him, we follow Him, but then we start to hate people. And friends, that's not the way we do it. That's not the life Jesus called us to. If you are into God, you have to be into people. Take a moment to ask yourself honestly, do I perhaps have a root of bitterness in my heart? Are you holding a grudge? Is there someone you are struggling to forgive? Maybe you're sick and tired of being criticized. Maybe there's a boss who constantly tries to see what you can do wrong. Maybe your friends take you for granted. Maybe someone betrayed you. And worse, and probably the main thing sometimes when we are bitter, we sometimes are angry or disappointed at God because this year didn't work out as I planned. So maybe you realized it now and you really want to get rid of this. So how do we get rid of the root of bitterness? Maybe you have identified that, and that's great. So how do you do it? In Ephesians 4, verse 31 to 32, it says, get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as Christ forgave you. You kill bitterness and you get rid of it with two things. Compassion, the first one. You see, Paul was giving this teaching directly to the people in Ephesus. He taught a very similar principle in Romans 12 verse 21 when he said, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I'll say it again. You cannot control what someone does, but you can control how you respond. Jesus said it actually best. He said, bless those who curse you and pray for those who mistreat you. It's in Luke 6, verse 28. One of the best ways to show compassion is to pray for someone who hurt you. Because here's the thing, it's not just praying for the sake of praying because it needs to change that person. No. Praying for someone might not change them, but it will definitely change you. So we kill bitterness and we remove it with compassion. And the second one is we remove it with forgiveness. Now this is probably where tension starts to rise in your heart and you become very passionate. And you're thinking, how dare you speak about forgiveness? Why would I on earth forgive this person? You don't have any idea what he or she has done to me. I don't have any idea. But how do I forgive something that seems unforgivable? We read in Ephesians 4 verse 31 to 32, we get rid of all bitterness, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ forgave you. So how do you forgive? You forgive like Jesus forgave you. And how did he do that? Freely, generously, absolutely, entirely, unconditionally. You see, I noticed once in my own life, a couple of years ago, that I was beginning to get bitter. And it was too late when I realized what the cause was. People were coming to me concerned about how I am treating the people closest to me. And I realized there was something I needed to sort out. I realized that I needed to go and forgive someone. Because it wasn't hurting them, it was hurting me, and I was hurting the people around me. You see, we shouldn't allow a root of bitterness to grow in our hearts and to spread and to hurt the people around us. You don't have to relive it. You can just release it. Because you see, someone once said, to forgive is to set the prisoner free, and only later realizing that that prisoner was you. It says in Romans 12 verse 18, and I'll end off with this. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. So I think it's the fourth time I'm going to say this. You can't control what others do, but you can control how you respond. I trust that you will take this with you when you engage with your loved ones and also going into next year. We're so glad that you were able to join us, and we trust that you are having a great holiday, safe travels. And if you like this message, please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel and ring that notification bell for more content. Have a great holiday. See you next year.